honestly, take nothing away from it. That was just a world-class performance from Declan Rice. 2 free kicks that, for me, are the best I've seen in a very long time.
The 2 first direct free kick goals in his career against Real Madrid in the knockout stage in the Champions League. I mean, that's sensational. He's the first player ever to score 2 direct free kicks in a Champions League knockout match. That's simply unbelievable.
And now, Grella, you're saying Real Madrid have got no chance in this second leg. Is that right?
They didn't have a chance before the game started, and that was the reality. And the bookies got it right. They had the odds pretty close. For me, Arsenal played in one of the most comfortable games they've played in all season against any opposition. They were organized. They constantly defended with 4 or 5. They understood that the game was going to look what it was going to look like. Arteta got that right. They had unbelievable balance, athleticism, physicality. They outmatched Real Madrid for me. And if you watched that game and thought, oh, well, because the free kicks, that's what made the difference, then you didn't watch the game properly. The game for me was won in the midfield, in transition. I thought Arsenal, a team that's been a little bit naive in the past, that's why they don't have a lot of trophies. I thought they had a performance that was unbelievably mature, balanced, organized. And Real Madrid, with now 11 losses on the season in all competitions, this is not the Real Madrid that we've talked about so many times and said, oh, yeah, but Real Madrid.
But it's not a Real Madrid we haven't seen. It's not a Real Madrid that we haven't seen. It's not something we haven't seen them be in a situation like this. I would say, Ancelotti, you're a big Mr. Italy and you love your Ancelotti. You don't think Ancelotti would say that those 2 free kicks were sublime and that plays a part in this result?
But how many balls did Arsenal flash across the 6-yard box with the wing-back play? They put the game on their terms. The game looked exactly like they wanted it to look.
Listen, in this level of football, sometimes world-class moments of brilliance are the difference. And today, 2 moments and then a third was enough to create a 3-goal margin between them and Real Madrid. Listen, what minute was the free kick? 50-something, 60 minutes, an hour in? All right. Up to that point, Real Madrid also were comfortable because they knew they were going to play a counter-attacking game away from home. They liked that. They're comfortable in that position. And Arsenal controlled the game as well. It was a little bit like feeling each other out. There were a couple of moments that Real Madrid were hesitant. Bukayo Saka beat David Alba, got to the end line, and there was no end product.
No, there was an end product. There was no goal instinct because they don't have a natural
Okay, sure.
Saka did his job.
Okay, what I meant to say is that they didn't finish off the play.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine. But then Courtois made a couple of saves, but that's what you expect from Thibaut Courtois in the Champions League playing for Real Madrid. He comes up clutch, especially away. But then when push came to shove, their back was against the wall and Real Madrid had no response because playing on the counterattack wasn't good enough. Kylian Mbappe had a couple of shots and he hit it right at the goalkeeper. Vinicius was a no-show. Rodrigo was a no-show. That's not good. And this is not the first time this has happened this season for Real Madrid.
Here's a look at the momentum chart and just seeing some of the shifts in the game. Is this reflective of how you saw the game play out, Grell?
I didn't see any blue charts. I saw maybe one in the first half when Mbappe sprung loose on a counter, but that was the game. The game was going to be Real Madrid on the counter. They conceded that. They were happy with that. But at the end of the day, I think Real Madrid, I think Mbappe, Rodrigo, Bellingham, I think they go up a lot of weeks against teams that are probably less organized, less defensive, and guys that are probably not as athletic as Partey and Timber and Saliba and some of the guys that Arsenal have, where they were so ready for that counterattack and they were so comfortable defending crosses. They recovered so well. For me, the game was nothing to do with the free kicks, nothing to do with the striker position. For me, the game was, well, maybe, if they have a striker, they score more chances.
You play the game. You know goals change games. You know goals change momentums and magnitude.
For me, Arsenal controlled from the first minute.
You know that will be part of the game.
I personally think that Arsenal in transition were something to watch. If I'm going to teach a group of boys or a team, if I'm going to manage, I would show them this game and say, this is what defensive transition should look like against one of the best teams in the world on the counter.
I'll just say Arsenal were extremely well organised today. They really played well. Was that
one of the best Arsenal performances of all time?
That is one of the best Arsenal performances of the Champions League, yes. But let's put it into perspective as well. This is all Arsenal have left. There is nothing else. They're not going to win the Premier League title. This is the only competition they can win. And they put in a performance where every player turned up. So I give credit to Arsenal. They're well organised. But at the same time, you've got to say goals do change games. If Mbappe... Goals do change games. If Mbappe did take that first chance, it could probably be a different conversation. These are small margins. But Nico...
Woulda, coulda, shoulda. I'm not having the woulda, coulda, shoulda conversation here.
Because for me, when you look at it as well, effectively, Real Madrid players did not perform today. They did not perform nowhere near the level that you expect them to.
Was that just an off day for Real Madrid, or is that just been an accumulation?
This is what happens. Real Madrid historically, they've played well and they've won a lot of Champions Leagues. Recently, sometimes they've played bad and won the Champions League still. Now,
very often.
Now they're playing poorly and losing. That's the difference this season.
They got spanked today. They didn't just lose.
They also played bad last year throughout the Champions League.
But they won. But this time they're losing. Okay, but this time they're losing, which is the difference.
This is 2 legs, though. We cannot act like this tie is done.
It's done.
For a player, for a team of that quality, I do not think the tie is over. If Arsenal, I guarantee you this now, even Arteta will be telling his Arsenal lads, great job. But to go to the Bernabeu and you think that the tie is done 3-0, you don't know football. Listen, you cannot say it's done. You can say it's great job we've done it now, but again, the game plan at the Bernabeu is going to be completely different. You're not going to play the same way you played at home.
If you had to pick a winner at this moment in time to advance, who would you go with?
Arsenal have the advantage. You'd have to say Arsenal. But there's no guarantee that they could get the job done. That it's completely done without the second leg. But Arsenal have put themselves in the position where they need to be. Home ties are important. You need to win your home ties. Now you're going to the Bernabeu. The crowd is going to be absolutely electric. They're going to want to get a result. And if you don't start well, we've seen it in football matches. First 5-10 minutes, if you concede a goal, do you have the players in your team, the character to withstand that?
You've got to be happy for him, even if you're not an Arsenal fan, just to hear him there be so honest with his emotions, Nigel.
Unbelievable. Great lad. Really great lad. I had the pleasure of training with Declan Rice just before I packed in. I went back to West Ham, training with under-23s. And you know when you just say you know, you could spot a player from a mile away. And within 2 minutes of being in the training session, I went to the coach, who's that kid there? He goes, Declan Rice. He was captain of West Ham's reserves at the time, under-23s. I said, that kid should be with the first team. I think 2 weeks later, whatever it is, he made his debut. Not because of what I said it, but you could just see it. The way he trained, the way he was with me and everything, and how he applied himself. You're like, this kid's special. And when you train with so many youngsters, you know the ones instantly to say, he could play in my generation, or he could be in the first team now, because the mindset and everything. And after he made his debut for West Ham, the rest is history. But I'm just so happy for him. He's a really, really nice lad. Deserves it. Great play, and he's getting better and better and going from strength to strength.
So 2 center mids, they let you go so he could take your position, huh?
I went back training there, all right?
Maybe you said too many good things about him.
But he was
too good about him.
Hey, he was good.
He would make a great captain.
He told me he used to watch me play back in the day. Don't worry about that. But he was special. Like, out of all the youngsters there, he stood out, and I'm like, there's something special about this kid. And you can always tell. Enthusiasm, attitude, how he applied himself, and the ability that he showed and everything. I did nutmeg him in training, though.
The Nigel effect. Well, you know what? I just hope Declan Rice is going to be doing that for England in the next couple of years, because that free kick was something.
How they're going to approach the second leg.
How would you approach it?
I think for Arsenal, like Nico said, you have to go with the same mindset and intensity as you played today. Easy said than done. You're away from home. It's going to be a hostile atmosphere. We don't know how these players are going to cope in that environment until they're there. That's what plays a part, because you don't want to change or take away from your players to say, OK, we're comfortable with a 3-0 lead, because you're facing top-class players. You will be punished.
Sorry, nice. Go ahead. No, sorry. I thought you were done. So, for me, personally, they score their first goal, and I said, OK, are we going to see an Arsenal side now that starts to protect a little bit, invites a little bit Real Madrid back into the game? No. They win again for the second one. Then they get an unbelievable world-class strike, right? We can watch thousands of games. We might not see another one like that live. That was incredible. Then 2-0, I said, OK, for sure now. And there was Arsenal fans in the room that are in the back room. They were going, all right, maybe now it's time to shut down the game because it's a nervous situation. They kept and continues to play. It looked like they were going to go get the third. I kept saying, oh, my God, this looks like they're going for the third.
But you're at home.
But they're at home. This is a great point as well. But for me, there's a lot of maturity in it. You know how easy it is to say, hey, we got 1-0, 2-0.
Against Madrid.
Against Madrid, against Mbappe. Let's close the space. Don't leave them a lot of space. They continue to boss the game. They continue to take chances. They continue to get their wingers into the game. So to me, over the last 2 years, there has been a growth. Now, I know they've come against the Man City sides of some of the best that we've ever seen in football and struggled. Liverpool this year were good.
On that note, against Manchester City, not last year, but the year before, the way how they abandoned their DNA against Manchester City, thick in a title fight. They decided to sit back, to not be the Arsenal that we saw for an entire season, and they drew away at the Etihad in a game that if maybe they had a little bit more personality, they could have won, and the title fight could have shifted in their favor. From that point on, Manchester City said, oh, you're going to let us play? All right, a draw, and they celebrated that draw like a win. Remember, that was like almost 2 years ago. And then Manchester City went perfect for the rest of the season to win the title, and Arsenal were dumbfounded. they didn't abandon their morals today. They didn't abandon their DNA. After they got the first, they kept on playing, and they got 3-0, and especially against this Real Madrid team. The last thing I'll say is that Real Madrid this season, somehow, when they were down 1-0 is when they best play. It's like that shock makes them be better.
Do you think that's a good point? Because do you think in this next leg we're really going to see more so probably Mikel Arteta and see him tested at this level in the Champions League and see, you know, we've even spoke about Pep in the past, one of the greatest managers of all time when he's under so much pressure, makes weird changes.
This is it. This is it. This is one of those big moments, and this is a massive moment for Mikel Arteta. And again, it's about the approach. It's all great and easy for us to sit here and say, go with the same mindset. You got to think to yourself back when you was a player, when you had to play a second leg or go somewhere into an intimidating atmosphere, and if you've got one or two teammates who you know they're nervous right now and they start making mistakes, it's a complete different scenario. And this is Real Madrid. So for me, I'm saying, and you listen to both interviews, both players, Declan enjoyed the day, but they know the tie's not over. They know it's going to be a tough tie. And Jude, yeah, we didn't play well, but this isn't the DNA of the club. This isn't what we're taught mentally. We've still got 90 minutes. So they know they have to redeem themselves with a performance at home. So how Mikel Arteta approaches this, how he sets up Arsenal is going to be the biggest thing for me for this second leg.
Brentford at the weekend, but all their focus is on Spain, isn't it? And Opta, they've got a new champion that they think we'll see this season. New Champions League favourite alert, 96% chance to progress to the semis and a 28% chance to win the competition. Anyone agree with this?
This is skewed. This is skewed because PSG still hasn't played their first leg. Arsenal with a 3-0 win in the quarterfinal is a bigger of a favourite than PSG still haven't played their quarterfinal.
Has anyone got Arsenal winning the Champions League this season?
I think there's great teams in it. I honestly cannot say who I specifically think will win it. That's the beauty of the competition. I think they've done what they had to do. This is a competition that, are they capable of winning it? They probably are capable of winning it. When you look at what they've got to focus on, this is it for them. So yeah, beating Real Madrid, it's no easy feat to go over a 3-0 lead, but they've still got a second leg. And like Nico said, you still got PSG. Aston Villa, a bit of a dark horse. Barcelona. Barcelona, for me, are phenomenal teams.